Welcome. In this video, we're going to go through the answers to the C3 worksheet. As always, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. When you are writing your formula for different compounds, it's a good idea to practice with these as much as you can. That's really the only way to kind of get used to them, is to keep using them again and again. And so if you need any extra questions on those, please do let us know. Remember your polyatomic ions as well, and their charges, because they will come up quite often. So things like phosphate and sulfate and hydroxide, those will come up again and again. And so if you get used to using them in their charges, then you'll be quicker in answering and dealing with those types of questions. When you're doing your calculations for masses produced or masses required, make sure that you've got all the masses involved. If you don't have all the masses involved, then instead of using just the straight law of conservation of mass, you may need to do the question stoichiometrically. This would only be really on the higher paper. So in this case, because we have the masses of the products and a mass of a reactant, we're able to find the one missing mass. If we had more than one missing mass, then that's where we couldn't use this principle. So do kind of be aware of that as you do these questions. When you're balancing equations, be aware of how a change, such as adding this 2 here, will affect the other atoms. So adding the 2 does fix the hydrogen problem that we had from the CH4, but it also modifies that oxygen, which results in us having to go back and change the balancing in front of the oxygen molecule to give us 4 oxygens in total. So do think about that carefully. Also realize that oxygen is present in 2 molecules. So it's present in the carbon dioxide, but it's also present in the molecule of water. So don't miss that when you're balancing, because you could look at the 2 and then the O2 and decide that it is balanced, but you're forgetting that there's that extra oxygen present in the water molecule. So just be careful. Those are kind of traps that people fall into often. When you're doing some more complex balancings, you may end up with these sort of half ratios. When you're giving an answer to a balanced equation like this, you can't include those half ratios, and you will need to therefore double everything in order to end up with whole numbers. In the higher questions where you're calculating your bond energies in order to get the energy present or used in a reaction, remember all the bonds possible in that molecule. And so in this case, we've got a hydrogen-oxygen bond, but we have a second one in that molecule, and then we have 2 of that whole molecule, and that's what gives us that 4 in total. I often see students who will either just do 2 because they say that there's 2 of the molecule, or they'll do just 1. And so make sure you remember that if there's a ratio in front like this 2, it will modify the whole molecule and all the bonds that are present there. One of the most common types of equations that you will likely be asked to write out or to decide on the products for are these acid equations. So make sure you're able to recognize those 3 types: the classic neutralization that produces a metal, salt, and water, the reaction with a carbonate that produces carbon dioxide, water, and the metal salt, and then the reaction with a metal, which produces hydrogen gas and the metal salt. If you're able to recognize those, then you will be able to rapidly write those equations, because you know what the products are going to be in general terms, and then all you need to do is find the specific names. I hope that this was helpful for you, and as always, if you have any questions, please leave them down below. Until then, happy sciencing.